Hello and welcome back, everyone. We are live here at Awwwards in Amsterdam, and I have Clive and Claire here with me. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, yeah, well,
Hey.
great.
Again, if you have any questions for Clive and Claire, drop it in our chat and I'll ask it to them. But first, tell us a little bit about yourself. What is your background? How long have you been in the industry for? Like, both of you, how did you meet each other?
Cool.
Ladies first, maybe?
Do you want to? Yeah. Okay, fine. I'll
Go
start.
classic today.
Okay. So I'm a service designer in an agency in Paris called Cosa Vostra, and my background is I came from a very design-oriented school. That is, there's a lot of different profile coming in, and I studied in Paris for that. And I was very curious about the whole interaction that we have with computer early on. I graduated like 1 year before the iPad came out, and this was kind of my first move. Like, I love typography, I love books. How is that going to translate in my designer work now that we have this new device, this new medium to work on? So I worked into UI, then UX, and leading on to service design. And I actually met Clive 2 years ago, going back to school at Hyper Island in Manchester, where I really had learned some more core skill into service design.
Cool.
Exactly, yeah. I was guest lecturer, I think.
Yes.
And you were in the lecture,
Yes.
and then,
And now we're sitting next to each other. I'm proud.
Wow, how could that happen? Yes, exactly. About myself, I'd say I'm probably a failed graphic designer. So I studied graphic design at one stage and then noticed, it's quite fine what I can tune out, because I had a background in artwork and print before as well. But other people are probably better than at creating something very beautiful. So I noticed that I actually like to think about why something happens, complex problems people have, so think about solutions maybe and about a strategy about things. So I learned about this thing called user experience design and went on to study my MA in, which shows how old I am. It was called interactive multimedia at the time. So CD-ROMs was still a thing and stuff like that. But there we actually had a professor who had his own usability lab, and I really got acquainted with all these methods and tools. Went back from the UK to Germany, started out in agencies, through the ranks, junior to senior UX designer it was called in the end, and decided to go freelance roughly 4 years ago. So now I do UX work, mostly as a lead or interims head of maybe, but also workshops, and sometimes I still get my hands dirty as well.
Awesome.
And currently I'm really interested in voice user interface design as well. So after having spent 12 years of doing wireframes, I think it's quite refreshing to think about other interaction models as well.
Can you tell us more a little bit about voice?
About what, yeah.
Do you have maybe even prepared something for us?
I could open, as it were, XD now allows to prototype in voice as well. Who would have thought?
Why not? That's our topic.
Yeah, exactly. But so if you really want to sort of start out in it, an easy way to do it here, I'll just open the official Amazon. Hang on, let me just switch back to this.
Because we kind of said where we met, but we didn't say why
we didn't
we're
tell the
here
whole
together.
story, exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's not only
you were
us.
lecturing her. That's what.
Those days are over. That was one day.
Okay. And now?
It's true.
And now I'm being lectured by her.
I wish.
No, we're actually a team here that you can see on our screen.
Okay.
So the top left, I guess more people know that's Jay, who works at Adobe. And he's like our XDI coordinator, however you want to call it. And it's Matthias from Stuttgart, Claire from Paris, myself from Berlin, Mattia also from Berlin.
But Italian.
But Italian, very, very Italian, I have to say.
True.
Brad, who's also here today, and Shakib, based in London. And we are the XDI team, which means we're all somehow active in our community. Most of us as freelancers, some of us employed, and we tour Europe, basically, I could say.
Exactly. To do workshop on XD, either very... Like you want to start somewhere and you don't know anything about XD, so we are providing beginner type of workshop, but also more advanced when you want to learn more about design systems or even play around with voice interface or auto animation. This is the type of more advanced workshop that we run, and we are really in between. On one hand, the XD team that is building the product. So it's very nice to have this relationship where we kind of know where they're going and we're having constant conversation with them. And then through Jay, and then of course being in the community and using those tools and being, for instance, in an agency where people are using other tools as well and getting feedback from that and just bridging this gap between, on one hand, Adobe, and on the other hand, designer community.
Yeah, so we get the honest feedback as well, so people don't
Yes,
have to feel,
true.
because we do use other tools depending on the client. Yeah, and so we're spreading the gospel a little bit, I'd say, because we're users ourselves, but we also get honest feedback and feed that back to the actual people at
Yeah.
Adobe, the product team. So
Yeah.
that's a really nice position to be in, really.
It's true, and on top of that, like, it really sits on everything that I think good innovation sits upon, is like really knowing who your user is and understanding your community and being driven by that community instead of being driven by some people like top management who are like making decisions based on business.
Sure.
Yeah.
And how can people find out about your workshop? Where do they take place? Where do you have a website or anything?
There is actually, if you check the Adobe blog,
Yeah.
and then look for the XDI team, there's a blog article
About us,
about
yes,
us.
and everywhere that we've been so far in 2018, and I think there is a couple of dates on 2019 as well. There is also somewhere where you can put requests if you like. If we are not going into one of your country or one of, because if we're not going where you are, you can still send us a request, and we'll be happy to join you guys and to do that with you. Yeah.
So there's basically 2 links. So if you want to host a public workshop, maybe for your community, where there'd be about 40 to 50 people.
Yeah.
I just did one in Cologne the other week. I think, where were you? Your last one was?
My
Copenhagen?
last one, I think it was in Copenhagen.
In Copenhagen.
Yes.
So that's also a nice community event. We get people from all levels, or you can contact us if you want like a hands-on training for maybe your group of designers. So there's both opportunities there. And like today, we're at the Adobe XD booth at the lovely Awwwards conference in Amsterdam, for example, and
Great.
people can just visit us there. And
So
see that.
if you're here, visit them. We
Yeah.
have a question in the chat from
yeah.
Charlie. A couple of speakers have said they don't use wireframes anymore, as if this old practice. What are your thoughts on this? What are the alternatives?
Great question.
Yeah.
I think
It really depends on your user flow. Sometimes you do need wireframe because you have a complex user flow and you really need to test it out. And I think that there is a whole controversy about like moving fast and building fast and failing fast, but I think it's a misunderstanding. Like what it means really is that you should prototype quick and you should test quickly, not that you should push a product into the market very quickly and see how it works. It's actually kind of the opposite. And for me, wireframe is really that, is not building something that is going to be really high fidelity, but even paper and pen is perfect to kind of test your user flow. But sometimes it's very obvious and you don't need to do that. So it's not like a regular process. You need to be iterative even on your process and really understand why you're doing the things you're doing.
I think it depends is the best answer
Yeah.
ever in UX anyway. But I still think wireframes have their place as well. But a lot of old school UX designers, maybe like myself, maybe fall a bit too much in love with their wireframes because it's just an artifact they're used to use. But nowadays, if you work in product teams or cross-functional teams and you've the luxury of developers sitting next to you, as Claire says, just a scribble might be good enough, or even writing something out, a storyboard might make the same job. Sometimes you've also got clients who cannot interpret wireframes. It's a bit too abstract for them. So it might be better to get into a more polished design. But it really is horses for courses. I still think they have their place every now and then, but not just wireframing for the wireframe's sake.
And like you said, I think another component is the maturity of your client as well. Do they understand or not how it works? Because obviously you want to test that out, so it has to look like something. But some people will understand it's only wireframe like shapes and flow, while other would be completely lost.
Yeah, and they say, why is there a grey box? It could be red.
Yeah.
And then you have these micro discussions
And
which lead nowhere.
Exactly.
I think that's true. And specifically for voice, for example, you haven't actually got a wireframe. You haven't got something to look at on a screen. So your wireframes in voice are just a dialogue, a sample dialogue, and then that's a proof of concept. So that's a thing. I wouldn't say that this is also always a thing. Then like this question, it was a great question, but maybe you read an article, wireframes are dead now, or personas.
It's like the burger menu.
Yeah. Personas are dead now. Jobs to be done is a thing to do. Usually, always ask who wrote this article. How does he or she earn his or her money? Have they got a talk or a book on the topic?
True.
That might be interesting.
I would not ask so many questions about who wrote that. I would ask more the questions to my clients and what they need.
Absolutely. What I mean is, if someone says so or so is dead, see if they have got a secret agenda. Are they maybe pushing a product that is or a book about this topic.
True.
And then you're right, though, when it comes from the client, usually it's because they had previous experiences. For instance, I met a client and he was like, oh no, no MVP, that's no. Because what happened is that they had MVP that turned out to be the project at the end, which they completely missed the point on MVP because it's not supposed to be the final product. So their experiences build on that and they're even saying, we're not doing that. And then you have to kind of rebuild that trust, explain maybe how and why it went wrong and why maybe it's relevant now and when it wasn't the last time.
Definitely. And you said you have some wireframes or prototypes to showcase?
What I could show, if we talk about voice, for example, what I do and what we demonstrate downstairs at Awwwards today as well is just use something like the ready-made Amazon Alexa UI kit.
That would be interesting to see, yeah.
You see this very, very messy desktop. And then...
And you out there, let us know what you think, if you have tried voice yourself or not.
Exactly. So
if you have any questions regarding voice, now is the time to ask.
Well,
in the chat.
Go for it. I'll do my best. Basically, that's why I'm excited about this being part of XD as well. I think it's the first tool I know, at least, where you can go from your normal interaction flow, which is screen-based, where you can maybe tap or set a timer or drag something. You can now add voice as a trigger, and you can just download, or just get rid of all the layers here. You can download the Amazon Alexa UI kit from, I think it's Behance, I think that's what's based, and it's the official XD UI kit in cooperation with Amazon. So everything that you see here is the real deal and the real specs and so on. And at the bottom of the screen, so you can already see they've prepared all the components for an Echo Show and an Echo Spot of all the different generations. And at the bottom, there's a super slick mini tutorial. Which basically gives you all the steps to do. And I can just very quickly demonstrate maybe how this voice prototyping works.
Sure.
And it usually always raises some eyebrows on people. I was like, wow, that's possible now as well. And maybe you can post a wow in here as well, if you think it's amazing. So basically what you do, once you've designed your screen, you're probably familiar with the two modes. Design mode, where you can really do all the fidelity levels of design. You'd switch to prototype mode, where I always call you can noodle the things up. I think that's not the official title, but you can basically wire them up. And let's say, for example, we want to connect this screen with this screen. In a normal prototype, it will probably be a tap interaction or something like that. In here, it's based on, it's in German now, the interface.
You can translate.
A little bit of German lesson as well.
Yes,
we
trigger
had a French
is trigger.
interface earlier.
You never know what you're going to learn.
So trigger is actually trigger in German as well, very interesting.
Very innovative.
Yes, you can see untippen is a tap, ziehen is pull or drag, or you could here choose Sprache or language or voice as an input. Befehl, a very German word, means command. We're very good at that. And basically, you enter the voice command in here that you want to trigger the interaction. In this case, Alexa, Open World Travel Guide. Then you can set the different actions. So this is just a transition, and this is your this is where it should go. So Ziel is the artboard where it should go. It's the Echo Show World Travel blend. And a simple blend animation here with the default ease, just to show what happens here. So you can use any element to trigger it via voice. Then you go to the artboard that should then talk back at you, as an Echo Show would, for example. So this is the model of an Echo Show, which is a multimodal device by Alexa. Some of you might know the Dot, which is voice only. This is a multimodal experience. So you can trigger something by voice, but you could also tap on something. And then usually, once you triggered something, this thing talks back at you. You see all the loads of noodles here. But what you need to do to have the artboard speak back to you, you have to go on the artboard level, go here, have a trigger of a timer. Typically, you'd here set it to 0 because you want the action to start straight away. And then Sprachwiedergabe, it's probably speech out, but speak back.
Speech playback.
Speech playback is the action that you want. And what's really cool as well, this is the real deal. So the voices you get in here, they're Amazon Poly voices. Hence, you also need to be connected to Wi-Fi for this to work, because it actually interacts and does what Amazon does. It's not something that happens locally on your computer. And then here you can say, I come onto the screen and I want this screen to talk back at me. As I say, different voices. I don't know what Ivy sounds. I think Ivy sounds a bit like a frog. Let's see. Not a French person, an actual frog. And we'll see what happens. Hope this works now. Hang on, go back here. What you need to do then to trigger it in your prototype is press the space bar.
Yeah.
And then, let's see. Alexa, open world travel guide.
Welcome to World Travel Guide. You can learn more about Cuba, pyramids in Mexico, or Coven Park. What would you like to hear more about?
Okay, so you heard the frog? It is a like
Yeah,
a frog.
I've never heard a frog like that, but
You can switch back. But I hope you hear.
but
you
whatever
heard
it is, I heard a voice.
You heard a voice coming
Great.
back, and this would be the interaction. Then you can continue. You can say, Alexa, tell me more about Cuba, for example.
Enjoy
Okay.
the smell of cigars and the taste of Havana Club rum under the Caribbean sun as you explore Cuba.
So this is a different voice, but you can pick also different voices. It works in English. It works in German.
Can we
works
try it in German?
I'd have to. I think I have to switch something around.
Oh, okay.
you have to
Okay,
switch
let's not do that now.
Not now, but you could. And
And
apparently,
it works in French.
It works in. Of course, it works in
Yeah.
French. And Japanese and Korean, I think. So all the languages
Yes.
that are
Spanish
supported.
and Portuguese now.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
Spanish and Portuguese is since this month update is Spanish and Portuguese as
Oh,
well.
la, la. Oh no, that's Italian. I
Oh
wanted
la
to
la,
say
is
my-
Italian. Oh, you're confused. You're very confused.
Okay, you guys are definitely hanging out too much.
Southern Europe.
We have
Anyway.
a question in the chat.
Yes, absolutely.
A quick one from Adriano. Hi, would you be able to create learning activities with XD? And would XD be able to be integrated into a LMS?
Learning management system. Well, the promise of XD is anything that lives on a screen can be prototyped within XD to give a generic answer. Because I mean, games have been designed within XD, kiosks, in-car entertainment systems, because everything is scalable. It's all SVG based.
I agree.
I don't. If it lives on a screen, I'd just say you can prototype it with XD
Yeah.
on the top of
I'm
my
a
head.
bit more confused about the word integration. Like,
Yeah.
can you be more precise? Like, what would you want to achieve with that? Because obviously, like, it's a prototyping tool, and you can set up, like you said, different type of screens, the regular one, and you could prototype whatever you want. But then, what do you mean exactly by integration? I guess.
This is a good question.
Yeah.
Generally, I don't know if you can answer it
Yeah.
now within the chat. Hence, you need to host a workshop or come to one of our workshops. I'm sure we can help you then. But in a nutshell, that's how voice interactions work. So it's just another form of interaction that you can think about, that you can now use as well. And it's
Great.
very low key. You don't have to learn any coding. You don't have to. You don't need an Amazon developer account, which you'd usually need to actually prototype a
Yeah.
skill. It's just there.
And it's, in terms of experience design, it's perfect because you're really trying to build empathy. So of course, like, this is kind of the tip of the iceberg. When you already made all the conversation, you kind of know how your voice interface is going to work, you plan out all your scenario, and you want to try to build that out. And just like a prototype, you're just going to build empathy and just try it out for real and put it in front of user for real and see how it works with them. So it's just adding another layer and making it a bit more high fidelity that you would do, for instance, the showcase that you presented from the BBC, where you just have a wall and having a conversation with someone.
Wizard of Oz testing or
Yes,
something like that.
which is also a very interesting way to prototype, but this is more high fidelity and yeah.
And I think it's great to get maybe if you've got a client or a stakeholder, just to impress them. Say, look, this is how it works, and it's a real voice. So for demo, if you want to show a happy path, how something should work.
Have you
I
done
think
have you done a prototype for a client before? I know you are very much into book publishing,
Yeah,
digital
it's
book
true.
publishing, so maybe audiobook.
Audiobook. Well, so actually, it's quite funny. I never used voice trigger when I was working in the digital
Not?
book industry. No,
So maybe
we use
today is
all,
the day?
all kind of triggers,
Yeah.
but not this one. Even like I remember one page that you need to, how to say, yeah,
Blow?
yeah, it's blow.
Blow
On your iPad, and
Yeah.
the wheel will
Oh, yeah.
turn, and it's actually sounds,
really?
but any type
Okay.
of sound would work. We would try to work with different type of trigger, but never like asking a direct order like you would do with a voice interface.
It's funny because you mentioned the blowing. What I think with midterm, I wouldn't want to promise a release, but you can also actually use so-called SML tags, which allow for real sort of subtleties of language to be in Alexa. So you could whisper, and she would whisper back at you. You could pronounce something with an emphasis, and then it would be more emphasized. So really add, like when you're a visual designer, you might have your drop shadow or your nice little flat effect or scodimorphism. Voice has things that languages can do, because that's your design tool. Now suddenly, language is your design tool, words are your design tools, and in multimodality, you also have to consider the screen. So I think it's a fascinating area, and it's all not quite there yet. It's a great time to play around with it.
Yeah.
And what easier than to do it in XD?
So we have a couple of minutes left. What would you like to give our users on the way?
Good question.
Try
Play around.
XD,
Try
try
XD.
voice.
Oh yeah, go and play with Auto Animate. I would say, like,
Exactly.
if you
I'll
have
try
5
this
minutes
one.
today, just open XD and play on that, because it's super fun, super fast.
You can do something like this. Do you want to show my screen again?
Exactly, yeah. That's a really good example. And then what would be good if you could just show also how it works, how easy you can build this very simple yet very wow interaction.
Yeah.
But we have 30 seconds left.
Okay, well, then again,
Okay.
it's basically also just 3 artboards. You go into prototype mode. You have to set a time from artboard to artboard. And what XD does very cleverly, it just really, with an algorithm, calculates the differences between the artboards and the layers, if something moves, if something changes size or color. And then, everything that you saw here is
It's
just
just
3
that.
artboards changing
different
shape and
size
size.
sets.
And that in 20 seconds.
Yeah,
Well done.
perfect.
Well
It's
done,
as easy
so-
as that, really. And you
Thank
don't
you.
have to
but
leave
it's,
the tool.
yeah, it's definitely something fun to play with. And I would say, like, I will add something a bit more serious. Just, I think that in these, like, prototyping tools and everything that you can do with that, you should always, in the same way you always ask about the process, should I build wireframe or not, you should always ask, is it relevant to prototype it or not?
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you very much, Claire and Clive. Thanks for joining
Bye.
us.
Thank you.
And
Thanks, Alma.
coming up next is Rufus and Anrik. So stay in 5 minutes. They will be on live. And thanks for watching.
Cheers.
Bye, guys.
Bye now.
Bye.